Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Crimes, Killers, Cults, and Beer. Um, Today we're covering a cult, crazy one. We'll get to that. Before we do get to that, we've got a, a guest on, Todd from Grinding True Crime. What's going on, man?
I'm doing good. How about yourself? And I'm glad to be here.
Doing great. My neighbor's doing their lawn right now. That might get picked up in the mic, but
It's okay. I got that whole annoying fly in my studio, like what's it called, from Breaking Bad episode. For those who watch that show, I can't get rid of them, so I don't want to fall off any stairs. So I'll just let them be and just ignore the baseball background. I also do a baseball show, so throwing that out there.
Well, Grinding True Crime is a podcast that I've never had on the show before, so this is Todd's first appearance, and I'm probably going to be on with him at some point
very soon, actually.
And but tell my listeners a little bit about your show.
About our show, I know we've had we talked off air. We had a little scheduling problems. We've had sort of the same thing. People coming in and out, but usually it was with me, Matt, and Gabby. We would do a show, like literally most of the time I like grab a case, I get all the details, do the research, and then they're like fresh eyes. They like true crime, but they're sort of like little, I would say, the level over newbie, the next level. So they know of like the big cases, but they don't know those, the newer like serial killers or the ones back in the day, or even just like infamous murders, the cases and the twists and turns. So we kind of like talk about that, and then I get their their reactions, and the reactions are pretty good, and so it keeps it going a little bit. We throw in a little bit of comedy. I do a little voice impersonations if I'm making fun of somebody. We never make fun of the victims, but it's maybe like the idiots involved in the case, someone saying something stupid in the case files, as far as like a bad ruling by the judge or by a lawyer or something. So we stay within the lines of respect, but we also try to lighten it up. And so it's pretty good. It's a pretty good show. We usually go for about an hour to an hour and a half. So it's one of those.
Okay. We're usually between an hour and a half and 2 hours. But our Jerry Brutos episode was 2 hours and 49 minutes, making it our longest episode to date. That should have been 2 parts.
It was sometimes you get into the meat of the subject and you just keep going. So I've been there, done that as myself. So
we've covered some of the same cases. I've noticed, because I've listened to most of your catalog.
Okay.
And he recently did Willie Pickton. I did Willie Pickton and released. It was a 4-part series, and I released it part 4 probably about 2 weeks before he got shanked. I'm like, why the hell couldn't the guy have just done it a couple weeks earlier? That way.
That's truly frustrating. There's been a couple cases like that too, like where the killer will pass away or something like that, like later, or there's a conclusion, like they find a body, or an extra body or something, and then you have to like do an update case.
And I did a BTK, because there was a BTK update that came out about the same time that Pickton died, and so I did an update case. Anyway, let's get rolling.
Let's do it.
All right. So we're covering the Word of Life Christian Church in Chadwicks, New York. Now, it started off as a Pentecostal church, and it was business as usual until the leadership changed hands and a man named Jerry Irwin took over. And then the shit hit the fan. It gained national attention in 2015 when the brutal beatings of 2 brothers at this church ended in the murder of one of them. 19-year-old Lucas Leonard was rushed to the ER in Chadwicks. He was unconscious, and he was covered with blood, and it looked like he had been shot in the groin.
Oh. So he took a beating and another beating. That's terrible. God.
Well, they both did. We'll get into the gory details, but because there's a little bit of a twist, but
well, I like twists.
but His brother, 17-year-old Christopher, had been beaten to a pulp as well. Both have been tortured by, quote, Christian church members, and Tiffanie Irwin, Jerry Irwin's daughter, who had taken over when Jerry died.
Oh, no. And a lot of people try to think that, hey, you know what? Females can't be that aggressive or they can't be that mean. I just go always back to like World War II. I mean, the worst beatings and the worst abuse came from the female officers in those concentration camps. So,
well,
yeah.
This is my third cult that I've covered with a female leader. And this one and the other two, very brutal.
Yeah, because I would look at it like this, like the ones I've and I forgot to mention when we talked off air, I did the Anthill Kids too. Ooh. So that was a man leader. And we've done the Yahweh Ben Yahweh, the Jonestown. Usually with men, it is involving beatings, but for the most part, sexual exploitation.
Yeah.
But with females, yeah, they can be very brutal. You're absolutely correct.
Mm-hmm. And there's a million reasons why. I mean, it could be just like, okay, well, I'm not a man, so I got to do something that's going to make people afraid of me.
Yeah, that's true. True. I got to outdo what they would do.
Yeah, that's probably 80% of it.
Yeah.
But
let's hear those details, man.
All of this was provoked by something that Tiffanie had dreamed up.
Oh.
Lucas died at the hospital, and this sparked up one of the most fucked up cult cases I've ever heard of. So right out of the gate, put a knife in that.
I will hold on to that. I will definitely hold on to that, because now we have some tragic stuff going on. We know that there's some sort of end game, and it doesn't look good. So
no.
Let's see how it got there.
Instead of saying, a lot of podcasts say put a pin in that. Well, this is a true crime podcast. I say put a knife in that.
Well, I like that. Yeah, because it reminds me of that. What is it? That Bolt movie by Disney. Where like, oh, let's just put a pin in that idea.
Yeah,
that's where that's why I first heard that term, and then you putting the knife. I love that.
Yeah, I used to say put a pin in that, and I just got. You know what? Number one, there's at least 6 other podcasts I know of that say put a pin in that. I'm going to say put a knife in that.
Yeah, you got to be original, man. I love it, Bill.
Sources are the book Without a Prayer, The Death of Lucas Leonard and How One Church Became a Cult by Susan Ashland. People Magazine Investigates Cults, Season 1, Episode 3, Word of Life. A little bit of Wiki, and Syracuse.com.
Nice, okay.
Bruce Leonard had a master's degree in plant and soil science. And he and his wife separated when their daughter Crystal was 9 years old. That was in 1988.
Okay.
She was a daddy's girl. Bruce got custody, and Bruce was a very devout Christian. And when he and his wife split, he was looking for answers. He was lost. So basically, he was easy pickings for a cult.
Yeah.
He had nothing, and he was desperate. And some friends of his introduced him to the Word of Life Church. Now,
I see.
Word of Life started off as a small non-denominational group led by Jerry Irwin, and it quickly grew into an actual church. Jerry talked to Bruce, and Bruce believed that, the things that he said was prophecy.
Jerry was different from the church. I'm sorry.
Well, Jerry was saying things that Bruce couldn't have possibly known. Or no, Jerry was saying things to Bruce that Jerry couldn't have possibly known. He was basically doing the fortune teller routine. Ask a seemingly insignificant question, and just But so Bruce bought in, and he considered Jerry to be a prophet of God. Oh, what were you going to ask?
Oh, just because with the churches, like with religions like that are more mainstream, they have those branch off ones that can turn into cults. Like I believe this story is turning. So he must have got his attention with something he's never heard by going to the church that got him thinking, wait a minute, this guy's divine in some prophetic way.
Yeah. So there's always a reason why people end up in cults, and it's not nobody wakes up one day and just says, "Hey, I'm going to go join a cult."
Absolutely. Yeah.
my mom didn't either. And I'm trying to talk to my aunts about what her mindset was when she joined, but they don't want to talk to me.
Wow.
They want me to leave it alone. And
well, that's an unfortunate thing, because they think that you're probably trying to badmouth your mom or exploit it, but what you're trying to do is find out answers to critical questions, because maybe you can help others not fall into that kind of prey,
Exactly.
So it's not like it's not like you're doing it for gain. I mean, that's family, that's your mom, that's what you went through. So yeah, I applaud your effort, and I hope that your aunts can change their mind and give you some answers, because they got something.
They got something. Even if it's just one little issue, there's something, and that's important. I want to know. But
Absolutely.
1992, they moved to Chadwick, and they were all in. Bruce not only found a home, he found a wife, a woman named Debbie Wright. They married a short time later, and Debbie had 2 kids from a previous marriage, Whitney and Sarah. Don't put a knife in Sarah.
Okay, I'll hold on to that.
Not literally, of course, but
no, you don't want to do that.
Well, maybe.
Okay, maybe one of those. Because I was picturing, when you say put a knife in it, like a picture of that person, then stab it against the wall.
Stab it to the wall, yeah. But like you would a pen.
Yeah, exactly.
In 95, the couple had their first son, Lucas, and then Christopher in 1998. Yeah,
So
he was probably
6 now.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
He was the girls are grown at this point, or close to it. But he was probably too nice of a dad, and he let them get away with things, never punished them when they got into trouble, but he loved his kids, and he would never hurt them.
Okay.
Anyway. But Jerry Irwin was the true prophet to the believers of the Word of Life, and they received what they considered to be proof of Jerry being a prophet in 1998. One member, a woman named Joan, got sick. She had cancer and a severe stroke. Jerry found out and went to the hospital with a few church members and prayed for her. There's audio of Jerry rebuking the devil in the name of Jesus. And at that moment, Joan came out of the stroke. The stroke stopped. And Jerry capitalized on this, and everybody believed that Jerry had brought her out, when in reality the stroke was over and she survived. It happens every day.
Yeah.
The church was initially in small houses, grew to other locations, including Jerry's own basement, but it grew to about 70 people. So they acquired an old school building that was abandoned, and it was a nice setup. It was 3 stories tall, had a gymnasium, which became the sanctuary. The 3rd floor was converted into the Irwin family's home, and it was very lavish, and of course it was.
Well, those usually are, and it's funded by the crowd that joins, right?
Yep. But
and free labor on top of that.
Are you reading my notes?
No, I just know how these cults are, man. It's like exploit. Sorry.
No, that's all good. I know you don't have my notes. But
maybe I'm a prophet.
You gonna start a cult?
You want to join?
You got cookies?
Chocolate chip, macadamia.
I'm in.
All right, there you go. 2.
Do you get to fuck my wife every night too?
Oh, it depends. If I'm given that power, or if God tells me to, it's going to be a must.
Okay.
Sorry.
Only if God says so.
Yeah, if He says so, then you got to do what you got to do.
I regret that I have to do this. I really don't want to fuck your wife.
Yeah, right. Well, He tells me, so
I got to do what God says.
Who am I to judge?
So Jerry Irwin was able to eke out enough money from his congregation to fund their lifestyle. And with only 70 members, I'm pretty sure it was much more than just a 10% tithe.
Yes.
And the ones that didn't have good jobs, no problem. He'd take their food stamps.
What a guy.
Yeah. You like the band Suicidal Tendencies?
Yes. They needed their Pepsi. All he wanted was a Pepsi.
We'll take cash, we'll take checks, we'll take credit cards, we'll take jewelry, we'll take your mama's dentures if they got gold in them.
Yeah. Man.
And they indoctrinated kids too. And on non-church nights, parents were required to bring their kids to the church for teaching, but the parents weren't allowed in. And this was yeah. This was from 3 p.m. all the way into the late night, and parents just had to wait because you never know how long the teaching was going to be, and they're not babysitters. You had to be there and pick up the kids as soon as the teaching session was over.
Oh, terrible. That's already, I mean, if you didn't have enough red flags before that,
yeah.
The whole kid thing, man, not good.
For some, this replaced school. Yeah, and grades, any grades under a B, and the parents would be punished. And punishment at that time was basically shunning while requiring you to be at the church. Basically like that cancel episode of Black Mirror.
Oh, yeah. Was it that one where they he's walking around and she kind of like, she can see him but he can't see her or something like that, where they can't interact, or
they're like blurred out or whatever. So yeah.
So you're in attendance, you still have to pay your dues, work probably, but you can't conversate or with anybody.
Yep. You don't exist.
That sucks. That sucks, man.
And when the members weren't working their jobs, they were working at the church, aka put the church ahead of your family and God would take care of the family. So slave labor.
Yep. Oh, it's got to suck. So you work an 8-hour shift or longer, and then it's like, well, I got to go to the church and work for free.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you had to please the Irwins. They had elevated themselves to God status. So if you weren't pleasing the Irwins, you weren't pleasing God, and therefore you were damned to the pits of hell.
Oh, you got to love cults.
Love them. One survivor said that the pecking order was God, Adam and Eve, Jesus, and Jerry. That was the
pecking order?
That was the pecking order, yeah.
Wow, Jesus got bumped. Okay. Oh, man. Adam and Eve found real favor with God then. Wow.
Yeah.
Jesus was like, man, I was perfect. I didn't commit a sin, and they get ahead of me? What the hell?
Yeah. But Adam and Eve, the original sin, they that enabled cult leaders.
Ah, I see. Makes sense. Makes sense.
And if you didn't respect his authority, he would get pissed, and he would belittle the followers and call them out from the pulpit. Some members were afraid of him because you never knew which Jerry would show up. Jerky Jerry or full blown. Yeah, that full blown asshole Jerry.
Oh, okay.
There was no nice Jerry.
That makes sense. That sounds like the Jonestown dude. He just come in there like, I feel like raping all of you tonight. Then the next day, yeah. Wow, this guy sounds like a winner already.
Oh man, that's one thing. I get tongue tied, and when it happens, I own it. I sell it, and I leave that shit in there because it's funny.
All right, then I won't throw a life raft next time. I'll just let you sink. How about
that? He preached that all other churches got their doctrine from Satan, and he had picked what they wanted from the scriptures to create whatever all other churches picked what they wanted from the scriptures to create whatever it was that they wanted. Exactly what he was doing.
Oh, God. Yeah, magical how they can just pick and choose through the Bible, like, and twist things. So
I have a book. I haven't had time to start reading it yet, but I've got a book on how cults twist scriptures around.
Mhm.
I got it for research into the book that I'm writing, but I haven't had a chance to read it yet. It's like really hard. But you're putting together 1 or 2 episodes a week.
Well, yeah, I mean, and you
And you're
don't
not
want a
just
ghostwriter. You're
yeah.
putting it together yourself. So, I mean, I applaud your effort. And when it comes out with all the information you have, personal stuff, I can't wait to read it myself.
If it ever gets done.
Will you let me know?
He also was into the arranged marriage business.
Of course.
One time he told a teenage girl that God wanted her to marry an older man. And the problem was take a guess. Take a guess what the problem was.
Well, the guy obviously is older, but he was probably already married.
You got it.
He's like, God told me to hook you two up and for me to watch.
Yeah. And this girl was under 18. And she was underage too.
That's disgusting.
But he then forced the man to divorce his wife and to marry this girl.
Huh. How awkward is that, huh? Hey, honey, I know we've been married 20 years, but it's over, and I'm leaving you for that 15-year-old right there. Cool? Yeah. And then cool. Jeremy said so.
Pastor Jerry said that it was God's way. If I'm that woman, I'm saying, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. Who's next? I'm out.
Yeah, yeah. And then call the cops, right?
Yeah.
Jeez. I mean, how awkward was the kids' reaction? That's what I want to know. Kids what?
It didn't say if they had kids, but I'm assuming they probably did.
Oh, man.
He would also accuse men from the pulpit of wanting to sleep with his own wife, as well as other members' wives, and that they even wanted to rape all the children. He was sitting there at the pulpit, just blatantly, baselessly accusing his own congregation of all this crap. And I really do think that he was gearing up to be one of these people that says, I'm the only one that can be married. All your wives are mine. I think he was gearing up to that. That's what it sounds like to me.
It does sound like that to me too, because he's probably up there like, well, the Bible is encouraging us to love one another, but you are damned for wanting to sleep with one. It's like, what? How did we get to that?
Yeah, it's like I've seen your wife. I don't want to sleep with
her. Yo, your wife is sacred, but you can keep her, man.
So yeah, he had to have been gearing up to that, and but Jerry's word was the writing on the wall, and if you left the church, you condemned yourself to hell.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
When Crystal was 20 years old, the church selected a husband for her, and it was a man named Chris Lindsay. No relation to William Lindsay in episode 121.
Okay.
Opposite sides of the country. This is New York. William Lindsay was in Florida. So.
Now, I forgot to ask you about this Chadwick area. Is this like more of like a rural area, or is it city like?
It's in Oneida County.
Really?
Yeah. Where strangely enough, there's another cult that's still in existence today. The Oneida cult.
Oh man, because I was picturing Chadwick as far as like maybe out in the boonies type area.
It's upstate. I'm not sure if I've ever been there, but I've been through most of New York, so I probably have. But
you could have been recruited.
Yeah, I'd like to see a cult leader try to recruit me.
Yeah. You've got the power of repellent now. You got your
flip phone activated.
There you go.
William Lindsay was our last episode. And he was basically Willie Picton light, but with alligators instead of pigs.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you can definitely get rid of a body with an alligator.
Yep. but they knew of each other's existence, but they weren't friends. But they didn't dislike each other. They just didn't know each other. And Crystal saw this as an assignment from God, so she went through with it. They were married in 1999, and the bridesmaids were her stepsister Sarah and Jerry Irwin's daughter Tiffanie, and put a big freaking knife and put a machete in that.
Oh, this was important. Okay.
Put a claymore in that.
All right. Or it's one of those things, maybe her picture's like on one of those targets and you're throwing an axe. You just like fling
A double-sided battle axe.
There you go. Those Game of Thrones ones.
Yeah. So Tiffanie and her two brothers, Joseph and Daniel, were the spawn of Jerry Irwin. They were running the land. They could do whatever they wanted, unquestioned, spoiled brats. But Tiffanie was also a big-time daddy's girl, and she was the most spoiled of the three, and she wielded that power like a weapon, even as a kid. She would always get what she wanted, and if she didn't, there would be hell to pay. But one thing that she did want was crystal.
Meth?
No, Crystal Leonard.
Oh, Crystal. I was like, wow, this take a real quick twist. Sorry.
She wanted, she wanted her.
Ooh.
But she would never get her, so put a knife in that too.
Okay.
Lots of knives in this episode.
Man, there's a bunch of twists out the gate. I love it.
In 2012, Jerry retired as pastor, and Tiffanie took over as the pastor and the leader of the cult. And Jerry had set the stage, and Tiffanie drilled it home. This was now, if it wasn't before, it was now a full-blown cult. And Word of Life churches, there's Word of Life churches all over the country, and so don't lump all Word of Life churches in with this one. It's like, the cult that I was raised in is Faith Assembly. There's a church 10 miles away from me called Faith Assembly, and there's no affiliation whatsoever. So
it's more of like a common name type deal?
It's just common name.
Wow.
But this transfer of power was done in secrecy, leaving members wondering where Jerry was, and Tiffanie told the congregation that Jerry had suffered a stroke. But Tiffanie had a problem. If you got sick or if anything bad happened to you, it was because you sinned.
Oh, so people assumed that he sinned his way out the church.
Maybe.
Okay.
But on December 8th, 2012, Jerry died of a stroke. But like all of these cults, the followers expected Jerry to be resurrected. But that obviously didn't happen.
Oh, it didn't? Oh, that's a twist.
Well,
I was fully expecting him to rise from the ashes. So my bad.
The cult, the Faith Assembly, the cult that I was raised in, when Hobart Freeman died, the followers prayed for several days for for him to be risen from the dead. And
didn't happen either, huh?
Yeah, but how many resurrections have happened since Jesus?
I can count on my hand. 0.
Yeah. Jerry's death was a major shock to the followers, but Tiffanie put on the show of all shows. She claimed that she, like her father, had seen Jesus, and it worked. The followers bought in, and she, too, was a prophet as far as they were concerned. The followers prayed to Tiffanie, and they believed that she was what they had been looking for, obviously. But, obviously, she wasn't.
Spoiler alert.
Jerry was a power-hungry prick. Tiffanie was a power-hungry and sadistic prick who was only happy when everybody around her was miserable, and she liked to torture as well, which was something that Jerry had never been into, other than verbally.
And sexually, probably.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that maybe. I think the only reason that he did, that he stepped down is because his health was declining. If he had been in good health, he would have married the entire congregation.
He would have been pumping himself full of Viagra every night.
Yeah.
I got your rapture right here.
But the rules became even more tyrannical, and no matter what you did, there was no satisfying Tiffany, and she was so much worse than Jerry. It's like if Jerry was a demon, Tiffany was Saddam Hussein on South Park.
Oh man.
Which if you don't watch that show, in South Park, Saddam Hussein is worse than Satan.
Oh yeah. He outdoes Satan many a times.
Yeah, Satan was his bitch, literally.
Yeah. Yeah, they went there with that one. He was pretty fun.
But the rule changes took place immediately. TV was abolished. All the internet was restricted and monitored, and basically you could only use the church computers and whatnot, and your phones were regular. Your cell phones were regularly checked.
Wow. So, quick question: were they living on the actual land now at this time? All the followers and parishioners, or
some people were. Some people were. That was the thought process behind getting the church. That all the classrooms on the second floor would be turned into like living quarters. And some people had already moved in. Not everybody though.
Gotcha.
I mean, if you think about it, I mean, you could take some of these old abandoned buildings and turn them into like housing for the homeless and stuff like that. I mean,
barracks almost.
Yeah, but. The rule changes that took. How many showers they would have had to install?
Maybe they just do a community shower.
Yeah, maybe. No. Is there a pool?
Yeah. Right. Just go down by the river and use some soap. I don't know.
It's an old school building that would looks like it was probably one of those old boxy multi-story brick buildings. It was probably built in the 40s or something. But
probably machine shop at some point.
Yeah. But all the members were expected to completely cut all ties with anybody who was not a member of the church.
Of course.
They were also expected to get to work even more and give an even higher percentage of their income, but it was never enough.
You can't associate with heathens in your family, and you have to give more. I mean, God is asking for more.
Yeah. And how are you going to work if you're not allowed to associate with heathens?
I don't know. I guess you're shunned by the heathens as well.
Or you have to go there and do your job and not say a word to anybody?
Yeah, that would suck for someone that works in customer service. How do you do that?
Excuse me, ma'am. I've got a problem here with my vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, exactly. I cannot talk to you. I rebuke you in the name of Jerry. Heathen. By the way, these are 99 cents today if you want to get them 2 for 1.
Mrs. Cult member, come to my office, please.
Yeah. You're fired.
And then she get punished by Tiffany for
getting
fired.
Lose situation.
Yeah. Her brothers, Joseph and Daniel, were the muscle. They were both 6 foot plus, and they were both built like linebackers. And they would literally stand at the back of the church with their arms crossed with sunglasses on during the services.
Oh, that's not intimidating.
Like bouncers. And they were usually armed.
Armed as well. Wow.
Armed, like carrying weapons.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, geez. That's a little intimidating, if you ask me.
And guess who passed the offering plate?
Oh, okay. They're all, this 9mm says you need to put in more.
But what got really bad was the punishment for the sins, and punishments included counseling sessions, which included forced confessions. Tiffany wanted to punish for anything, so the member would be coerced to confess to even more. She would make up something and then claim that God had told her that the person had done this, So basically, God is a snitch, according to Tiffany. um, this would go on for hours and hours, and the members would confess to anything that she dreamed up just to get it over with.
Boy, at that point, that sounds like the good old interrogations before, in the 40s and 50s, when the detectives can just shine that light on you, sleep deprive you, and just talk your ear off, and maybe even slap you around till you confess to something you didn't even do. So I feel for those people. That sucks.
Yeah. Soon she got she got a hard on for Bruce and Debbie Leonard because she said that they weren't disciplining their kids the way that they should be disciplined. And when I remember what I said before about she wanted Crystal, she couldn't get Crystal because Crystal didn't like her like that.
Yeah, there's no swinging that way.
Yeah. So their boys were being taken over by demons, and it was harming the church. In actuality, Lucas and Leonard were just being teenagers.
Yeah. They're probably like, man, why are we here? Can we just go out and hang out with our friends? I want to go to college.
Well, college was a sin.
Oh, that too. That's right. Can't learn.
Tiffany began singling everybody out in services, and they started losing members as a result.
Shocker.
But it's a good thing though. Some people, it's like, okay, this is bullshit. I'm out.
Yeah, finally wisen up, right?
Mm-hmm. But Tiffany told that those who remained that if they left, God would hurt the people that they love. So God's doing shakedowns now at Tiffany's bidding.
She's like, God will make your car disappear
in a ball of flame.
Yeah, he'll turn that into a burning bush itself. Maybe your house as well.
One day in 2014, Tiffany told the followers that God had told her that somebody in the church was supposed to give a large amount of money to the church. And it was said that if the person didn't comply with God's orders, serious physical harm or even death would befall somebody that they care about. And you can see where this is going.
Oh, yeah. I'd be looking around like, well, it's not me, but who the hell is going to get punished?
At the end of the service, meathead and church bouncer Joseph Irwin went to Crystal Leonard and got in her face and said that they knew that it was her that was supposed to give the money. She was a stay-at-home mom, and her family didn't have much money, and they were already giving a lot more than 10% to the church.
Oh, no.
So for 6 weeks, she stressed about this, and she couldn't figure out why God had told Tiffany that. Well, God didn't tell Tiffany that. But she decided that it was time to go. And once she had her family safely away, she emailed Tiffany and Bruce saying that they were done, and neither one of Bruce or Tiffany got back to her. They adjusted. They even found a new church, and life was good. But remember, Tiffany had forbidden members to contact non-members. August 6th, she ran into Bruce and Lucas at Bruce's mother's birthday party. They were friendly, and she felt good about it. Following Sunday on the night, Lucas texted her asking her what time her new church service started. He said that he wanted to come and maybe even stay with her family. And she was pumped. She was happy. And she thought that she might be able to reconnect, and she was hoping that the rest of the family would leave Word of Life. So they picked him up and went to the church, but he decided to go back home rather than stay with them. And Crystal's like, okay, the door's always open to you and the rest of the family. But that was the last time she would hear or see from Lucas.
Oh no!
Or any of her or any other member of her family, that for that matter, until 2 months later on October 12th, 2015.
Wow! So they just completely shut her off right there.
Mm-hmm. On October 12th, the phone rang and her husband answered, and Crystal could tell that something was wrong. And he hung up the phone. He was crying, and he told her that Lucas had died. You remember Tiffany's prophecy?
Yep.
Something bad would happen.
Prophecy fulfilled.
Yep. She was calling and texting Bruce and Christopher, but nobody was responding. Lucas had been taken to the hospital in a white Dodge Caravan. It was Debbie's, and the hospital staff took Lucas out of the van and started trying to revive him right there in the parking lot.
Yep. Oh man, he must have looked like crap if they're doing it right there.
Mm-hmm. Because he was wearing blue. He was wearing blue jeans, and they were completely soaked with blood. Like, there's video of this.
Oh really?
Mm-hmm. They took him to the.
After this. Sorry.
Yeah, there's video surveillance of it and everything, and he was, he was pronounced dead as soon as he got into the hospital. And when they examined him, Lucas's body was bruised severely from his thighs all the way up to his middle chest and on his back as well. His jeans were drenched in blood from his crotch all the way down to his legs to his feet. They thought that he had been shot in the groin and bled out.
Uh-huh.
The doctor called the police. Bruce, Debbie, Tiffany, and her mother Tracy were all taken in for questioning. The lawyers, or the Irwins, lawyered up immediately, and Bruce and Debbie weren't talking. All Bruce did was ask how his son was and where his wife was. There's video of this as well. They've been interrogating Bruce for hours, and then they pulled the "okay, we're just going to let you sit" tactic. With the camera running, and he's raised his hands in the air and began praying. And he starts off, "I thank you, Jesus, for bringing good to an impossible situation."
Man, talk about brainwashed.
Mm-hmm.
So you just lose your son, and he's thanking God for that.
Yeah.
Wow.
He was completely out of it, totally warped and brainwashed by Word of Life. And police came back in and told him that Lucas had died, and Bruce started wailing. But, there's video of that too. And he still wasn't talking. But the autopsy surprisingly revealed that the gunshot wound, there hadn't been a gunshot wound. That wasn't the cause of death. He had been beaten and whipped ruthlessly over his entire body, and he had, with special emphasis, put on his groin area, which caused it to, ultimately cut. And
wow.
Yeah.
To our male audience, yes, I am clenching my crotch as we speak.
Yes.
I know we have to get into details, but I must ask you: was that a whip like from, the Jesus movie that had special things? Oh, okay. Because I'm like, we need to rip that Band-Aid off quick because I'm already clinching right now.
Some of the bruises were determined to be old, and the bruises started putting poisons into his body that attacked his organs.
Oh, internal stuff. I was figuring that. That's bad.
But he ultimately bled out. But 121 true crime cases on CKCB, and I've never heard of this.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, that was totally new to me. I was just like, I didn't even know that was a thing, that bruises could poison your body. I didn't know that.
I mean, it kind of makes sense because
it makes sense, but I just didn't.
Yeah. You don't think of that because it really doesn't come up. Usually, there's like a gun wound or an infection due to something else, but it's not like I've never heard of that either.
Yeah, that's crazy. Leonard still weren't talking, and finally, Debbie gave the police enough information to work with. She told them that this had taken place at the church. So police went and they surrounded the building, and they went inside, and it was seemingly empty. And what they did found could have been on an episode of Hoarders. musty closets overflowing with trash, but they specifically found bloodstains on the carpet and on the walls next to the carpet. And this is the area. This is where Lucas had been, flogged. That wasn't all. Christopher Leonard, the younger brother, came, walked out to the police, and he was clearly dazed and he was in shock. And he was taken to be interviewed, and they found out that he too had been beaten just as badly as Lucas, with the same type of bruisings too, from the mid thigh up to the middle chest. And there's pictures of this, and they're horrific. There's more bruising on him than there's more black and blue than there is peach, pink skin.
Man.
He was immediately taken to the hospital and was listed in critical condition. Finally, as Bruce was interrogated, one officer asked him if he had done something bad, and Bruce said yes. And the officer asked him what it was, and Bruce finally cracked.
Oh.
Sunday, October 11th, the night service had ended, but Tiffanie had told the Leonards, hey, hold on just a second.
Mm-hmm.
They needed a counseling session. She had found out that Lucas had gone to church with Crystal, and that Debbie and Bruce didn't stop him.
Oh.
During the service, Tiffanie had said that somebody there had been practicing witchcraft, and Lucas and Christopher fessed up to it. They had been instructed to do this prior, just to put on a show.
Oh, I see.
They had rehearsed the lines, and the boys confessed in front of everybody. There was no denying it, and Bruce was horrified by this, quote, revelation. It went on to them confessing to wanting to molest little girls. But then she turned to Bruce and said that this sin came as a result of Lucas going to Crystal's church.
So you get everyone riled up, and then before the beating, you're like, oh, yeah, but it was because of this, and then proceed with the beating. I mean, the tactics of these people, I swear.
Yeah, she's full of shit, and she knows it. But this is akin to, like, people blaming, murders and stuff like that on heavy metal music or video games or movies.
Yeah, satanic panic, stuff like that.
Yeah, but how are you going to get? Yeah, it's how are you going to get? They want to molest little kids from a church. I mean, it wasn't a Catholic church.
Is that where your drum your little breaks in?
Yeah.
Sound effect right there. Mark that. Oh, man.
I'm just kidding, Catholic listeners. Just kidding. It was too easy, though. I had to.
Yeah, it's a low-lying fruit. I mean, you have to grab it.
Mm-hmm. Lucas's own half-sister, Sarah, was the one that had snitched on Lucas about him going to the other church. Sarah, along with God's meathead bouncers, Joseph and Daniel, were brought by Tiffanie into the counseling session with the Leonards. Tiffanie went over what had happened in the church service, and Lucas and Christopher were accused of witchcraft and using voodoo dolls, and that they were using those dolls to hurt Tiffanie. Because 17 and 19-year-old kids who have been raised in a cult that cut them off from everything know how to practice witchcraft and use voodoo dolls.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes sense to me.
Yep. Well, he got it from the other church, and then Lucas went and showed Christopher how to do it. Yeah, that's got to be it. That's
off of one church going, huh? That's
one church service. Yep.
Wow. I feel like if you learn that much in one church, meeting or whatever, I'd be like, hey, maybe we need to go back to this one. We obviously learned how to do something really quick. So
yeah, I mean, I could spend a month there and be a brain surgeon.
There you go. So she's actually helping promoting the other church. It sounds like it to me. It's like, we've been here this long and we don't know how to do witchcraft. They go one time and wow, okay.
Yeah. I think Tiffanie is a witch. And that's the nicest thing. That's the nicest word that I could use to describe her.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
But it didn't stop there. She started accusing them of molesting children, including Sarah's own kids, their own sister, their own nieces.
Mm-hmm.
And Sarah went along with all of this. And when Tiffanie told Sarah this, she lost her mind. God's prophet would never lie.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
The boys then denied everything, and of course they did. Tiffanie accused them of making up the coercing that had happened before, because they're like, you told me to say that. You told us to say all this, but she's like, I don't know what you're talking about, heathens.
You're trying to get out of this punishment. How dare you?
Bruce and Debbie were begging the boys to repent, and they believed Tiffanie too, and this was, of course, God's will.
Mm.
But the boys refusing to break, and Tiffanie going psycho, and Sarah following along like the good little puppet, the situation went from bad to worse, and this is when the beatings began. This is very brutal.
Okay.
But at least they were nice enough to tell the boys to remove their earrings and glasses before it started. I mean, you gotta give props for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, because break glasses, you might get glass in your face or whatever, or your earring ripped out. I mean,
well, it's like the old saying: you wouldn't hit a guy with glasses, would you?
This is true.
So, yeah. Take them off, and then we'll go. We'll rock.
Yeah. And if anybody's taking me literally on that, it was a joke.
Yeah, I'm keeping these bad boys on.
So Joe Irwin punched both of the boys in the stomach repeatedly while Daniel held them down. And at first, that's all it was, but it escalated, and Bruce and Debbie they were doing absolutely nothing. Once again, it's God's will.
Yeah, God wants this.
Yeah. Joe looked at Bruce and told him that it's like, if you tell me to stop, I'll stop. Tiffanie had convinced Bruce that he wasn't raising the kids right, and if he wanted to go to heaven, he would have to do better. So Bruce said, if they don't repent, hit them again. But Tiffanie amped things up, screeching Bible passages and praying. And Bruce wanted to go to heaven really bad, so he grabbed an extension cord and began beating both boys ruthlessly. This lasted from about 9 p.m. to about 6 a.m.
Oh, God. Okay, hold on, Bill. You get hit with because, again, I think at some point when this country didn't go soft, like I know of a friend that was hit with an extension cord. I saw it happen. Her mom hit her. That looked and left a serious welt, and that was one time. Yeah. And I've been hit by a belt by my dad, because I messed up, and he would hit me on my ass, and that left tremendous welts back in the day. So I'm trying to fathom getting hit with an extension cord multiple times, but for that long, that's a shift. And the majority of it being in the groin. Oh. No. I told you this was a rough one. Ouch. Yeah. Yeah. So sometimes when I'm listening to podcasts, they'll get to like a particularly now. It's like I can listen to the Ant Hill Kids over and over again and not be bothered by it because I've heard that story so many times. Mm-hmm. But occasionally I get a case that I've never heard before, something like particularly brutal, and it's just like, ugh, like you just did. Yeah. Because I remember we did the case of the what is it, that hitman, the famous hitman, his name's escaping me right now. Kuklinski? Yeah, Kuklinski. And what he did to one of the guys with a blowtorch, oof, that had me on the floor almost. Mm-hmm. So Randy Kraft, some of the things that he did, like that got to. I haven't covered Randy Kraft or Kuklinski, but Kraft is on those ones that I really don't care to. Yeah, I get you. Like, I get you. With John Wayne Gacy. Yeah, that was one that was brutal too. I'm in no hurry to cover that one either. Well,
But,
another one I would say, and we did a 6-parter because it was here in California. It was driving distance. We talked to some of the people involved. Was the what is it called? The Golden State Killer. That one was brutal for me because it just went on for too long.
Haven't covered him yet, but
that's a case that'll take you a while.
Our episode, the NorCal rapist episode.
You did that guy? Okay, I know him.
That was a really good episode, but
I'll have to listen to that one. We haven't covered him yet, but I know the story.
He got caught like literally weeks after D'Angelo did this, pretty much the same way. With DNA, and it was like D'Angelo and that guy, I can't remember what his name was, but they were like the first people to ever be caught like that.
Yeah, reverse genealogy.
And then later BTK because of his floppy disk.
He's always, am I going to get caught with this? And the cops are like, no,
you're good. Those are completely anonymous.
People, we're not in the. We don't trick people. We tell the truth.
It's not even possible. They are completely impossible to trace.
You're good. Just let us know more. He's like, okay.
Fucking BGK. I've ripped him to shreds on my series on him. Oh, it's funny. I will put my BTK series up against anybody's. I mean, I'm really proud of that one. But the the end game for all of this was for the boys to confess and repent, but they didn't. They weren't going to confess to something that they didn't do. And you got to admire them for the fortitude to be able to withstand all that and not break.
I think 2 or 3 times in the balls, and I'm tapping.
I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you whatever you want to hear.
Yeah, I killed the Pope. Like whatever you got to do. I mean, yeah. Man, that sucks. That is some serious testicle fortitude. Because wow,
under duress, literally.
Yes.
By 2 a.m., Debbie had grabbed an extension cord of her own and started beating the boys. But they didn't beat both boys at the same time. Instead, they focused on one at a time, and when Lucas was being beaten, Christopher was out in the hallway with one of the meatheads and wearing the headphones that you would use in a gun range. So
noise canceling.
Yeah, noise canceling. So he couldn't hear what was, he couldn't hear the other one screaming, and then vice versa. When they switched, Lucas got the headphones. But they began admitting to crazy things, kind of like what we were talking about with Damien Eccles. Just the craziest things you can think of. But Tiffanie insisted that there was more, and Lucas began giving her what she wanted. But crazy things.
No.
But the groin shots came from Sarah, their half-sister, and she was extremely brutal. Tiffanie had filled her heads with bullshit about the boys abusing her kids. After all this went down, Sarah's kids were examined for sexual abuse, and what do you think they found? Take a guess.
I'm thinking nothing.
You would be right.
Jeez.
So this ended at 6 a.m., and Bruce was the one who put the brakes on it, saying that the boys had had enough. And true to the promise before, they stopped. And Bruce, their own father, graciously stopped it after 9 hours of nonstop torture.
Well, I mean, by that time, 6 a.m., you need coffee and a donut. So.
Oh yeah. I mean,
come on now.
He wanted to take Lucas to the hospital, and he and Debbie took him. If you want even more details than the horror show that I just told you, just check out the book. I mean, this would be a 3-part episode if I had covered everything in that book.
Man.
Christopher was left behind because he wasn't bleeding out from the groin. And although he would have died if they hadn't gotten him to the hospital when he did, because his kidneys were shutting down at that point.
Yeah, when you take, even boxers have died in the ring taking tremendous shots during a fight, during a bout, in the rib cage, or or if they've been punched in the back, because they do get punched.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, your kidneys can tap out. They can literally swell and cause those toxins that they're saving your bloodstream from to release into your bloodstream, and then your body can go into shock. So I'm imagining, with how you described all the beatings, the abuse, and the bruising. I mean, there was toxins released into his bloodstream, and yeah, not good.
Yeah, but Bruce believed that if he did what Tiffanie said, she would give him and his whole family a ticket to heaven. Lucas is there for sure. Not sure if he'll see Bruce there though.
Yeah. If he does, he'll be like, wait, you got in for what you did to me, huh? How does that work?
Yeah, but there's kind of a gray area at the end of this that sucks, but it's part of the story. But
okay.
Lucas, as a young adult, was starting to question what was going on, and like this crazy situation that they were in, and he was murdered for it by his own family members, while a sadistic cunt encouraged it all to happen.
Mm.
At 59 years old, Debbie Leonard pled guilty to assault and in the first and second degree, and she got 5 years in prison. Bruce, at 66, pled guilty to felony assault, and he got 10 years, and he cried and sobbed all through his trial. There's video of this too. Sarah got 25 years for manslaughter and assault. She had caused the most damage to both boys, and she had actually been the one to cause Lucas's death because of all the shots to the groin. And for absolutely nothing. She had been whipped into a frenzy by Tiffanie, and in court, she claimed that it was a reaction to being made to believe that the boys had molested her kids, a story that was made up by Tiffanie.
Yeah.
But in a plot twist, during the trial, Christopher did admit to touching Sarah's kids inappropriately.
What?
Yeah, that's kind of what was my reaction. I'm like, are you serious? No. I didn't want to hear that. No.
Well, did they interview the kids to at least collaborate or see if they would vouch to some of that?
I couldn't find any of that. But I was looking for information on what Christopher was up these days, and I couldn't find anything. But I did find that, and I also couldn't find any information on whether or not he faced any legal repercussions after confessing. But maybe it was. Yeah, this is just speculating here. Maybe it was some warped sense of loyalty to his stepsister or his half sister, so he's going to say that to maybe they would, lessen her sentence. I don't know.
And the father too, you think?
Yeah.
That's a good point. I didn't think of that. He probably could have just been trying to save face and help the mountain away, but still, I mean.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't want that. I wanted to find that, he had opened, a comic book store and was killing it. Yeah. That's what I wanted to find, but that's not what I found.
Family of kids that he keeps away from cults.
Yeah. Man. But so, yeah. Oh well, it is what it is. It's true crime.
Yeah.
Joseph Irwin, one of God's meathead bouncers, got 8 years for first-degree gang assault, while his brother and fellow meathead bouncer for God, Daniel, got 2 years for unlawful imprisonment. Yeah, he showed remorse in the trial, and nobody else other than Bruce showed remorse. Just Daniel. He's everybody else is just like, yeah. So what? Catch me outside. Wow. How about that? But not even Sarah, who she even admitted to having been duped. and everything. So that's another thing that kind of, it's like, okay, if she admits that she was duped, and what about Christopher admitting to touching the kids?
Well, I mean, it's clear that God wanted to dupe her. So, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, she has to follow the prophecy and the plan.
The Lord works in mysterious ways.
None more than ever than in this case. So you must falsely admit to something that is not your fault at all. Okay.
So Tiffanie was 29 at the time of the trial, and she pled guilty to manslaughter and assault. She got 12 years, but she then asked if she could rescind her guilty plea. She said that she had been coerced and forced to plead guilty, and the judge didn't buy it. And personally, I think she should have gotten more.
Yeah, that's a light sentence if you ask me.
Mm-hmm.
So, except Sarah's, like the meatheads are most likely out right now. I mean, you can't be certain.
I'm getting to that.
Sorry.
The book had all the information about the trial itself and what the sentences were, but it was released. The book was released before they were released, so I had to go find that. So the cult folded after this. It's dead. Crystal isn't sure whether or not Tiffanie did this because she didn't shit a shitload of money for them, and I'm saying that I totally believe that's what happened. That and that and the fact that Crystal didn't return Tiffany's feelings toward her. And I mean, no disrespect to Crystal at all. I'm just a commentator who's also a cult survivor, and that's how it came off to me.
Yeah. I mean, they do take things personal in cults.
Mm-hmm. But the thing, it didn't. I mean, I'm sure the book goes into detail about sex rules and stuff like that. I'm sure it does. I didn't get. I didn't cover. Like I said, this would be maybe a 4-part episode if I had gone through the entire book like I did with On the Farm with the Willie Pickton book.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that as strict as these people were, I'm sure homosexuality was considered a sin.
You would think so. There's rare cults that was allowed. I know in Jonestown, he slept with some of the men too, but that was okay. Like it was because forbidden. Jim could just sleep with anybody because he was a spirit creature apparently. Yeah. But yeah, if anyone else tried doing that, yeah, consequences.
This Word of Life Church was an isolated incident, and there's, like I said before, there's Word of Life churches all over the country, and they aren't a network. And this is just one church called Word of Life that turned into a cult.
I see.
There's no excuse for what Bruce did. He was in a bad place in his life, and he was ripe for the picking when he joined. And, like I said before, nobody wakes up one day and just says, "Hey, I think I'll join a cult." It's never presented as a cult. You're accepted and love bombed until they stop love bombing, and then when they do stop, you're shit. Just another subject for the cult leader to use for whatever sadistic reason drives them to do what they do. My point is, anybody can be sucked into a cult. Some cult leaders believe they're bullshit. Tiffanie didn't. Tiffanie knew she was full of shit. She was a pure evil sadist who had been groomed to take over for her dad, but when she did, the true monster was released and Lucas paid with his life. Christopher almost did. There were others who were abused as well, and it started with writing sentences like when we were in school, but it gradually escalated to murder.
So the whole Bart Simpson thing to murder.
Yeah.
That's an escalation.
When I was in junior high, I had this one teacher that I didn't get along with, and she was always giving me sentences. So what I did was I took 5 pencils, put them together at an angle, and then taped them, at an angle. So, and that lined up perfectly with the lines on a piece of notebook paper, and I would basically literally be writing 5 sentences at once.
That's smart, actually.
And the funny thing is, a couple of months ago, I saw a meme of somebody doing just that. I'm like, hey, I came up with that. Well, I'm sure I wasn't the first to do it, but still.
Yeah. It's pretty ingenious because back then, they'd make you write till your hand fell off, dude.
Mm-hmm. And it was kind of hard holding those, holding them together like that, but still, it worked.
Well, try being like me. I'm left-handed, so I would write. And first off, if you had those binders, you're always scraping your hand or your palm on the binder, the coils. And then if you're writing with left-handed, you're smearing the lead. So I'm surprised I didn't get lead poisoning over the years. I mean, from the bottom of my hand, it was always filled with lead. I hated that.
You're walking around with what looks like a bruise on your hand.
Yeah, exactly. Or my hand's dying somehow. It's like, why is it gray?
So Tracy and Daniel Irwin were Tracy and Daniel Irwin were released on March 24th, 2017. Debbie Leonard was released January 18th, 2020, which was her earliest parole date possible. And
of course,
right before COVID. Joseph Irwin was released September 26th, 2022. Bruce Leonard was released May 3rd, 2024.
Wow, recently.
Yeah.
I wonder if he cried when he got out or if he was just happy.
I don't know. I mean, that's a good point. How do you think that? What do you think your mindset would be as a free man, knowing that you're responsible for that? And I'm wondering if Christopher even wants anything to do with him. Oh, Christopher or Crystal.
Yeah, not knowing how Christopher is nowadays. I mean, you would think he would get one to recoup, because if he still has that mindset that he really didn't do anything bad, he's got Crystal. But if he's truly repentant, maybe he can reestablish something with Christopher if he proves to Christopher that, hey, I was misled and all this other stuff. But that's hard to say with not having the information. It's just speculation. But yeah, I don't know how you could live with yourself. Like, if I'm responsible for my child's death, I want to out myself, to be honest.
I mean, even if it's an accident.
Yeah. I mean, how can you live with yourself?
Yeah, if anybody knows what Chris is up to, or if Chris even stumbles across this podcast, contact me, ckcbpodcast@gmail.com, and because I want to know how Chris is doing.
Yeah.
Because I still, even though he admitted in court to touching those kids, I'm not convinced that he did.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm not convinced that he actually did it.
Yeah, all you're looking for is one survivor to another. Like how did you get through it? Hear his side of the story, and hopefully he's doing better now. Yeah.
Tiffanie is still in prison, but she'll be eligible for parole in 2026. And Sarah Ferguson is also still in prison, and I didn't put in the notes where. Well, hold on.
Well, they're probably upstate somewhere, aren't they?
Yeah, they're all like one of them was in Oneida County prison or whatever. They're all in New York.
Isn't that, I might be mistaken on the name, but isn't that is it Rikers Island or Pelican Bay? One of those two is over there, and that's like the hardcore prison.
No, what was that?
Because I would just say that I think they deserve to be in a prison like that. Other than
there's one up there in upstate New York that Carl Panzram was kept in, and it's still in operation. It's supposed to be one of the worst ones, but I can't remember the name of it. But it's possible one of them could be there.
Yeah.
I doubt Sarah Ferguson would be there because she's a woman.
Yeah,
but I can't remember. God, what was the name of that? I don't know. But
Well, I know if they went to one of those hardcore prisons, even the ones out here in California, and they were in Gen Pop, they wouldn't last very long. You do harm the kids, that gets out, and you're screwed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this one didn't go as long as I thought that it would.
But it was a good episode.
Yeah, it's different. It's different because like if I had done this one with my former co-host Todd, this would have been close to 2 hours after edits.
Okay.
I guess depends on the co-host, I guess. Oh my God, this is hilarious. You know how the in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, it'll give you like the weather report, like rain coming and all that stuff. It said heavy rain, and then it just switched, and it says swimming final result. It's talking about the Olympics, but like just a second before, it was talking about heavy rain. So like, okay, better start swimming.
Swimming's in your forecast. It's a hell of a lot of rain. Not to make you jealous, but it's on mine. It says 82 degrees and sunny.
It's probably about 82 degrees right now, but that's just because of the rain.
Oh, that's muggy, man. That's brutal.
If not, it would be like 94, 95, 96 degrees with 100% humidity. 79 degrees outside with heavy rain.
Wow.
Well, that's what happens when you get a tropical storm.
Yeah. Expect the unexpected.
Yeah, you were saying that you couldn't handle the humidity. It's funny because one time when I was over the road, I spent like an entire month in going back and forth from New Mexico to Arizona to California, and it was too dry for this Florida cracker. I mean, my skin was dry, like so dry it was itching. It felt like it was about to split and all that stuff, and nosebleeds like multiple times a day. I probably went through three freaking large bottles of lotion during that time, like moisturizing lotion, because just took a bath in it, and I was just like, God, I don't see how people can do. See, you couldn't handle the humidity. I can't handle the dry.
Yeah, I mean we have that Southwest dry air over here, and it can be brutal to where I've had to use that. I don't know if you've seen that. They have the stuff out here. It's like a hard hands or man hands kind of cream, because my knuckles get like really dry, so I have to rub a lot on that, during work, because like again, there's not much moisture in the air, no humidity. So it's very, very dry at times, and especially when we get those Santa Ana winds that blow the air in from the desert. Yeah, it's even worse. So yeah, it can be brutal at times. Believe me, they say only black people get ashy. It's like, no, white people get ashy too, and I have to put on that lotion.
So yeah, back to I mean, I'm done with what I had in the notes, but it's just, that was definitely, I didn't know about this one.
Yeah, it's a first for me too. I love hearing about these things, so I really appreciate you bringing this story to light.
Yeah, there's not very many episodes out there about it. I don't think there. No, I couldn't find any. But it's kind of hard. It might have been what I was searching for, because when I typed in Word of Life, I got a bunch of podcasts from churches called Word of Life. And
yeah, no, I get you, because like when it comes up to cults, like you can pretty much get anyone that's been excommunicated from set religion that'll call it a cult, because they feel like they've been indoctrinated or their parents kept them in it, and they suffer like psychological type dealings, or they say, I wasn't able to live my life because of it. But when it comes down to it, the real cults are the ones that do the abuse, the controlling, the money laundering, everything like that, like giving your life and stuff like that. Those are the ones that are the real cults. I get the other people's perspective on things, as far as like, okay, this changed my life. I had to live my life this way. I broke away, like the whole breaking Amish thing, and like they have their ways to look at it when they leave the church, and the emotional stress. I'm not saying I'm justifying it being called a cult. I think they just escaped the religion that they were in that was pretty hardcore. But I believe that the category you're talking about, the David Koresh's, Yahweh Ben Yahweh's, those are cults. You know, those involve violence and stuff if you even question anything.
Mm-hmm. And those are the fun ones. I mean, and I'm just going to put this out there, you know, because there's people out there that need to hear it. If you follow, just because you follow this politician or that politician, that doesn't mean you're in a cult.
Correct.
You know, it's like I stay out of political discussions on Facebook because I just don't care. But I always see them, and whenever I don't go read them. But you know how on Facebook you'll see like the first two comments or whatever as you're scrolling. If I see somebody that's like, well, if you support this guy or this woman or whatever, you're in a cult. I'll reply back, I don't care who they're supporting. Like, you have no freaking clue what it's like to be in a cult.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everyone, you know, there's a pandering that either social media or certain narratives have to be fulfilled to certain either people, religions, parties of either sexual orientation or political or whatever. And it's kind of hard. I mean, because just whoever spends the most money to market those gets their word out there, and you could turn a tide. So it's easy for people to get whipped up into something. You know, it's very easy to because I mean, just the other day, I was like, wait, how did the Olympics let that Russian lady or whatever she is? I thought it was a he, and I'm like, that's not fair for a man to be beating a woman. I don't care if they're transgender.
And everybody went nuts about it, and then we find out that it actually was a woman, a very masculine woman, but still a woman.
Yeah, maybe her only guilty sin was taking too much testosterone at some point, you know? So it's like, you know, it got everyone up in a roar, including myself. So I can see how you can get whipped into something easily. So I'm not saying, oh my God, those people that fall for something are bad.
I kind of look at people that follow politicians, like, you know, like really closely, are really passionate about it. I put that in the same bracket as people that are like following their favorite football team or whatever. You know, because some of those people, you know, get pretty crazy too.
Oh yeah, sports is another form. You know, I mean, they'll turn family on family. That'll friends against the friends. You know, even incite violence. So,
but yeah, I'm a Dolphins fan, and
I'm sorry.
And I have been since I was a kid. So, but I was, I went out on a date with a girl one time, and it already wasn't really going that well, and then we start talking about sports, and she told me she was a Jets fan.
I know where this is going.
Check, please.
I mean, more like you're paying for your half, right? Because this doesn't count as a date anymore.
But yeah, so yeah, but I mean, if everything was going great until that point, I probably wouldn't have cared. But you know, she wasn't a bad person or anything like that. It's just we weren't connecting, we weren't clicking. And then she tells me she's a Jets fan. It's like if I connect with her, if we get along in every other aspect, I can handle the fact that she's a Jets fan. But if there's all these other things that I'm not measuring, aren't just clicking for me, on top of being a Jets fan, no.
Yeah, it's like my girl now. It's like we click. I was like, man, I've never been with a girl this great, and you know, she even roots for my team back here. But the thing was, I'm like, you can't be perfect, I guess, because I'm a hardcore Seahawks fan. She's a hardcore Niner fan.
Ooh.
And so I
that would be like a Dolphins fan and a Jets fan.
Yeah, but I'm like, if that's your only flaw, girl, I can work with that. So I told her, as much as that should show my love for you when I take you to your, Levi Stadium, to a game. I go with you. I hate the Niners, but I love you, so I'm going with you.
I'm gonna wrap it up, and
okay.
we can continue talking. I'm just going to wrap up the episode.
Go for it.
But, anyway, thanks a hell of a lot for listening. We appreciate it. Like, share, subscribe, follow, all that good stuff. Comment, rate, review. You can review on Spotify now as well as YouTube and Apple. So hook us up and do the same for Grinding True Crime, because that's a really good podcast. It's one of the ones that I listen to on a regular basis, and it's good. I'm glad to see that your podcast is back, because I was like, where's Grinding?
Yeah. We haven't put out a couple episodes for a while, so I appreciate that, Bill. So we actually have one going on later on today too. So we'll and then we'll have you on pretty soon here, if not next week. So we're hoping for that. But yeah, continued success on this podcast. Like I hadn't, till you reached out to me, I apologize. I hadn't really, got a chance to listen to your episode till you reached out, and I'm like, hey man, he does pretty good stuff. So I was looking forward to coming on, and I'll be continuing to listen to the Crimes podcast, Crimes, Killers, Cults.
Avoid the Elizabeth Bathory episode.
Okay. All right, you got it.
That one Todd took the lead on, and we were both annihilated drunk because man, it just went off the chain. I can remember it. Todd's like, well, we got through it. I'm like, yeah, a couple times.
The editing on this one's going to be fantastic.
It's just a train wreck episode, but I left it up there.
Yeah.
So anyway, until next time, later.